All right, thanks for joining us. It's time for Business Matters this evening. Almost immediately after President Trump imposed an additional 10% tariff on imported Chinese goods, China announced sweeping export controls on new minerals: tungsten, inium, binsum, tellurium, and rhodium. The 5 metals are used across defense, clean energy, and other industries. The critical minerals are used for artillery shells, TV and phone displays, solar panels, and memory chips. Beijing has already restricted graphite, antimony, germanium, gallium, and lithium, and some technology used to process the minerals. China has also banned the export of rare earth magnets used for EV, wind turbines, and electronics. And snacks have fallen out of favor. Based on PepsiCo's latest outlook, the Doritos maker is battling weakening demand for its sodas and snacks in the United States, which is its largest market. Its 2 biggest segments are PepsiCo's North America's beverages and Frito-Lay North America. Both have reported a 3% decline in volume in the fourth quarter. As a result, the company is forecasting its annual profit to fall below expectations that will miss quarterly revenue estimates. Pepsi has promised heavy investment to overhaul existing products and introduce new items to increase demand. And now, it may be harder for shoppers to find a steal online. Experts are expecting Shein, Temu, and Amazon Haul to raise prices for shoppers in the United States. That's because President Trump has shut down a trade loophole often used by Chinese e-retailers. Fast fashion retailer Shein and online dollar store Temu both use de minimis exception. This allows shipments under a certain value to enter the U.S. tax and duty free. A congressional report found that Temu and Shein likely account for about a third of all packages shipped to the U.S. every day under the provision. Temu is a subsidiary of Chinese e-commerce giant PDD Holdings. Shein is headquartered in Singapore. Both have taken measures to source more products outside of China. And rising egg prices continue to hit the nation. Since January 2022, over 100 million birds have been slaughtered due to avian flu. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, the higher costs are finding their way to consumers through restaurants, eateries, and supermarkets. Signs are being posted at some locations to warn consumers of the higher costs. And NTD's Sean Marshall gives us an update on the situation.
An extra 50-cent charge per egg. That's the temporary surcharge restaurant chain Waffle House has had to implement due to egg shortages. Waffle House alone serves 272 million eggs per year, the chain's most served item. The average price of a dozen of its usual large grade A eggs was $4.15 in December, up from $3.65 in November, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it's all down to avian flu. Supermarkets like Whole Foods are also impacted. This Whole Foods in Midtown Manhattan has a 3-carton per customer limit on eggs, which isn't too bad for one of the most expensive cities in the country. There's a sign posted saying that they are currently having difficulty sourcing eggs that meets their strict animal welfare standards. Mike Vickers, a manager at Center's Liquor and Supermarket in Minneapolis, said he can't even stock any organic, cage-free, or brown eggs right now and is limited instead to selling large or jumbo eggs.
It's the first time in my life that I've ever had to be kind of embarrassed on what I'm selling eggs for, and it's not our fault. We're paying today $7.45 for a dozen eggs. We're selling for $7.59. We're making 14 cents. That doesn't pay the bills.
Anyone thinking about raising their own chickens will quickly find out that there are no free or inexpensive eggs. Hobby farmers say there's a huge learning curve to begin, and the cost for a coop alone can range from $200 to $2,000. A bag of feed every 2 weeks can be $15 to $20 a bag, with a number of other costs to keep the birds healthy. The Agriculture Department predicts the cost of eggs is going to jump another 20% this year. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And insurance company State Farm is requesting a 22% emergency rate hike for California homeowners. It comes after extensive damage from Los Angeles area wildfires, with the California state officials now saying it would have to improve the increase. It would supposedly only be temporary, though. Rental policies would also jump 38%, and the rate for tenants would rise 15%. All the changes would come into effect May 1st if approved. In dealing with thousands of claims from the recent fires, State Farm issued around $1 billion. The rate increase would give the company funds to rebuild its capital base, with the company saying in a letter to the California Insurance Authority that these fires would be the most expensive for insurance payouts in its history. And AT&T has penned a deal to bring new voice services to customers, like integrating AI and machine learning capabilities. Nokia announced that it has signed a multi-year expansion agreement with the U.S. telecom operator. Under the deal, Nokia will upgrade AT&T's voice carriage and 5G network automation in the U.S. The senior VP at AT&T said the company is pleased to continue its relationship with Nokia to optimize network operations and enable new services for customers. And along with some tariffs on U.S. products, China also announced a wide range of measures targeting U.S. businesses, including Google, as well as farm equipment makers and fashion brand Calvin Klein's owner.
China's Commerce Ministry said it put PVH Corp, the holding company for brands including Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, and US biotechnology firm Illumina on its unreliable entity list. Companies added to the blacklist can be subject to fines and a range of other sanctions. These include a freeze on trade and revocation of work permits for foreign staff. Separately, China's State Administration of Market Regulation said Google was suspected of violating the country's anti-monopoly law and said it initiated an investigation into the company in accordance with the law. Google products, such as its search engine, are blocked in China, but it works with local partners such as advertisers in the country.
And last month, U.S. manufacturing activity expanded for the first time since 2022. Orders also increased and production sped up. The Institute for Supply Management's manufacturing gauge went up to a reading of 50.9 in January. Anything over 50 indicates growth. Meanwhile, new orders were higher for a fifth straight month. This indicates an increase in demand, which led producers to boost their output. The data was collected before President Trump announced a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, which risked disrupting supply chains for U.S. producers. Yesterday, the administration reached deals with both countries that put those tariffs on hold for at least a month. And Spotify reported its first full year of profitability since its founding nearly 20 years ago. The Swedish audio streamer reported a profit of nearly $1.2 billion for 2024. It also reported its monthly active users jumped 12% for the fourth quarter, the highest fourth quarter increase in its history. Last year, the tech giant raised subscription prices in many parts of the world to help boost its revenue. Spotify was founded in 2006 and went public 2018. And the new streamer entered the crowded competition for viewers. Fox Corp is planning to launch a subscription-based streaming service by the end of this year. CEO explained that Fox wants to reach a large population that is outside the traditional cable bundle. Spokesperson said the new service will feature all Fox content, including its news network. The owner of Fox News largely sat out of the streaming wars, instead betting on an ad revenue from its free Tubi streaming service. The company also reported second quarter sales and profit well above Wall Street expectations, boosted it by a surge in election-driven advertising on its news network. And General Motors has taken the wheel at Cruise. The car maker has completed its full acquisition of Cruise, now shifting its focus to autonomous technology for personal and not robo-taxis. A Cruise spokesperson said the merger will mean half of its staff will be cut. Since 2016, GM had invested roughly $10 billion in Cruise. In December, it said it would halt funding of the robo-taxi business, with the Detroit automaker planning to integrate the Cruise technology into its Super Cruise system. This system is available in more than 20 GM models and allows hands-off driving across North America. And from allied neighbors to a communist regime on the other side of the world, how are everyday Americans reacting to Trump's tariff strategy? Anthony Sam Wong was out of the National Mall in D.C. to hear from them.
I was happy to hear about it. Mexico caved. Canada's next.
Well, I guess I'm in favor of it just because the trade agreements have been so one-sided.
I don't understand why we are going to impose tariffs on our friendly ally neighbors, our largest trading partners. They're going to put the same tariffs back on us, so it's going to be a net neutral effect.
At this point, I don't know how good that's going to work, but I think it's going to get into a discussion with Canada and Mexico and China.
China is the number one enemy, militarily, politically, socially. They're communists, and we need to be strong with them, against them. And I think Trump will probably do okay.
The administration's argument is that the tariffs can potentially offset the national debt and also bring manufacturers back home. So do you think there's merit to that argument?
I do believe there's merit to that argument. I think it will, if people want to avoid tariffs or companies want to avoid tariffs, yeah, they'll come back to the United States and build their product here.
Economics is not an exact science, okay? A lot of politics are involved. So more than likely, down the road, things will get better. They can't get any worse, believe me.
I don't think that's a tried and true practice. I don't see where all the additional revenue is going to come back to the federal government on the backs of the consumers.
I think as we kind of equalize the trade deficits and the differences between the countries and what we're sending in and sending out, I think it'll kind of equal itself out at a certain point.
A lot of people are concerned about prices going up, the prices of goods. So are you one of those people who share that concern?
Early on, prices may go up a little, but the bottom line is these countries have to treat us democratically the way we treat them. And there may be a short rise in prices, but they'll come down sooner or later.
Well, fortunately, I'm of economic means that the grocery prices aren't going to affect me that much. It bothers me that prices are going to go up for people that can barely afford to sustain themselves today.
Prices always gone up. I mean, I'm 51 years old, and gases went from 50 cents a gallon to $4 a gallon. So whether the tariffs or not, things are going to go up.
This is money that we haven't been getting from these countries. I'm hoping it works, just to, get a little discussion going, and maybe they'll figure it out that way.
I mean, there is an element of that. I mean, especially with business, my company will feel a little bit of that, but I think it's more of a short-term pain than a long-term pain.
And job openings at U.S. businesses shrank much more than expected to close out 2024. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports the number of available jobs sank from 8.16 million in November to an estimated 7.6 million in December. That's lower than economists expected. Some of the biggest drop-offs in openings were at small businesses for white-collar worker roles. Most of the slowdown came from a pullback in hiring since layoffs continue to remain low. And Estee Lauder expanded a restructuring plan that would now involve up to 7,000 job cuts. The cosmetics giant is struggling with persistent demand weakness. The company now expects third quarter profit to come in well below expectations, citing challenges in its Asia travel retail business. That's particularly at airports and travel destinations in Korea and China. Estee Lauder has faced challenges in boosting sales growth in China due to high unemployment there, also a struggling economy and increasing preference for local brands. China accounted for roughly a quarter of the company's sales in 2024. And Super Bowl 59 tickets are now thousands of dollars cheaper than last year. So are people tired of watching the Chiefs? Here's the story.
There's sort of a bit of a who cares. It would have been a different story if it was the Washington Commanders versus the Buffalo Bills.
Marketing expert and football fan Doug Zarkin says this year's Super Bowl ticket prices are lower than last year's, largely because the Chiefs have played too many times, 4 out of the past 5 games, making non-Chiefs fans feel a bit blasé. The cheapest tickets this year are around $4,200, according to ticket resale platform Game Time. Last year, they were over $8,700. Another reason? Caesars Superdome in New Orleans.
The Superdome is bigger than Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and so there are actually just more ticket available. More of what I call the cheap seat tickets because it's got a much higher seating capacity.
Allegiant Stadium, site of last year's Super Bowl, isn't just smaller. Super Bowl 58 also had record low attendance, a little over 61,000 people. Zarkin himself has attended 4 Super Bowls. His tip on getting budget-friendly tickets? Don't give up hope.
The further along it gets into the game, the more likely you are to get a good seat at a better price. There's nothing wrong with going into a game at the middle of the first quarter. A, you'll beat the lines. B, you still have an entire 3.5 quarters worth of football to enjoy. So I would say play a little bit of the waiting game. You'll probably get lucky.
Super Bowl 59 takes place this Sunday starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Fans who don't attend can also watch on TV or stream for free on Tubi.
And the Grammys may be music's biggest night, but Sunday night wasn't the award ceremony's biggest showing. Viewership was down 9% compared to last year. Sunday's Grammy Awards drew 15.4 million people in 2024. That was nearly 17 million. This year's decline breaks a 3-year streak during which viewership steadily increased. Even so, the awards ceremony is still positioned to be one of the most watched entertainment shows of the year. Grammy's producers said ahead of the time they didn't expect a ratings bump this year. That's amid the devastation of the California wildfires. The Grammys delayed its marketing blitz leading up to the show. And a popular quartet will soon be appearing on a big screen near you. Marvel Entertainment has released a trailer for The Fantastic Four: First Steps. The movie will introduce Marvel's first family, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and The Thing. The heroes are forced to defend the Earth from a space villain's plan to destroy the planet. The film stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, and Ralph Ineson. This is the first Fantastic Four movie release in 10 years. 2015's Fantastic Four received quite scathing reviews and flopped at the box office. The new film is scheduled to debut in theaters on July 25th. And we go down to Wall Street today, see what the action was on Wall Street. S&P up about 0.7%, the Dow Jones up about 3%, and the Nasdaq up about 260 points today, 1.35%. So all smiles down on Wall Street.